This is my mini Web 2.0 presentation, and let's get started. So I decided to do two articles, one on cooperative learning and the other on collaborative learning. The first one was actually a short 1-minute video that showed an 8th grade math teacher and how he incorporates cooperative learning into his classroom every day. For this teacher, he has specific roles for his students, and there's 4 main roles. One is the scribe, which writes for the group. 2 is a speaker, who presents information. 3 is an inquirer, who asks the teacher questions if the students need any help. And then the 4th role is the manager, who tracks all the materials and specifically makes sure that the group is held accountable and the group is actually on task. The process for this cooperative learning for this classroom is that students are chosen with the teacher's randomizer, and at random they're selected for both role and groups, which is pretty big, so the students aren't stuck with the same group. They're also not stuck with the same role. They get to switch roles every time a new lesson is presented. Second part of this process is the fact that it's teacher facilitated. So the teacher's presence is pretty big with cooperative learning. The teacher is walking around, observing group interactions. The teacher is very hands-on here. And third, students are called upon at the end of class to share what their group worked on and what they found. So benefits of cooperative learning. Here in the video, the one that's mentioned is students have many paths to meaningful engagement through group work. I also added that the benefits the students get to practice working together. They have defined roles and structure. There's also an objective. And so with this structure, defined roles and objective, this is something that's big with cooperative learning, whereas with collaborative learning, there is more freedom. And then a third benefit is teacher participation. So perhaps for some students that might need more of a structure and accountability in cooperative learning, the teacher is here along the way with the students and is actually active in their cooperative learning. The second article that I looked at was collaborative learning, and this one specifically was talking about how a teacher would scaffold the students and their process of collaborative learning, so that way they slowly became more proficient and comfortable with collaborative learning. And so the objective here with this article is use scaffolding to train students to become comfortable and proficient at collaborative learning. So with this article, there was 5 main reasons or 5 main points that this specific author wanted to point out for scaffolding collaborative learning. The first one is establishing group agreements. And so for this one, right from the get-go, the author is specifically saying that it's important for groups to develop their norms and agreements. And so this is already establishing the expectation and accountability within each group, so that way anytime in the future down the line when groups get together, it's already determined what the norms are and how students are held accountable. The second point here is teach them how to listen, and it's very important here with collaboration that students are not just speaking, but they're trained how to listen, that they actually have patience, and that's a two-way street for communication. Not only are you speaking, but you have to listen. And so this is a huge point from this author, is you need to teach students how to listen to each other. Third point right here is teach them the art of asking good questions. So not only are we listening, but we want to show students and train students to actually ask the right type of questions. And so for this, it could be an open-ended question, a thoughtful question, even a question that challenges students or is daring. The idea is that we want questions that's going to that engages the students in this collaborative discussion. The fourth point here is teach them how to negotiate. So after listening, after asking good questions, now we want to negotiate. How are the students working together in this debate, this discussion? How are they actively learning with one another and interacting? And so with negotiation, you want the students to show flexibility, patience, and listening. For this author, she mentions that it's good, again, with scaffolding and training the students to use low-stakes activities to practice. So with this one as a negotiator, she gives an example of planning a birthday party or a field trip together with the students. So the students get together in groups and they're planning, say, a field trip together, and get to negotiate, where the field trip is, when the field trip is, how it's going to be done. And this is a very low stakes way of getting students to practice negotiating with one another and collaborating. And lastly, fifth is model what we expect. So pretty big one in anything in the classroom. If you expect your students to act or behave a certain way, to study a certain way, you as a teacher, it's your job and responsibility to model everything that you want your students to exude and to show. And so with this point, model everything. The teacher, specifically with collaboration, should model how a student is to listen, how the students are to ask good questions, and then how they're to negotiate with one another and collaborate. So a big one is the teachers model how they want their students to collaborate with each other. And lastly, for benefits, I put here, students are given more freedom to interact with each other in the learning process. There's more of an emphasis on learning during the process. It's active learning. So whereas cooperative learning, there is defined roles, there's an objective and a specific outcome that the teacher is looking for. With collaborative learning, there's more freedom. The students actually have more emphasis on the actual process and not just the outcome. The teacher's not looking just for a specific outcome or answer that the students are giving, but a majority of this learning is in the active learning process. So it's with the students, and what I think of as the journey is the main emphasis here. How are the students interacting with each other? And in this article, it was how are the students listening, asking good questions, and negotiating with one another. So again, this is a huge benefit of collaborative learning, is more of the freedom for students to work with each other, and that it's not necessarily outcome based, but it's how are they working together, actively learning in the process. That's the two articles that I looked at, and this is my Web 2.0 presentation.